I can totally empathize and sympathize with what this person is saying. So, for a little more context, she's saying that nurses and doctors perpetuate the myth that you cannot eat any type of fruits if you have a diagnosis of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. So, let me get into a little story time. I'm still annoyed. So, years ago, and I mean donkey years ago, I was a clinical dietitian in the hospital setting, and I was the sole dietitian for the entire facility. So I saw a lot of different patients. So I went to a particular unit, and I won't necessarily say what the unit was, but the patient, and I won't even say the diagnosis, but the patient needed a diet to help manage their blood sugars. So while I was rounding on the unit that morning, the nurse came to me in like a frazzle dazzle. And she was like, oh, the patient got fruit. The patient got fruit. And I'm looking at the diet and I said, like, I know for this particular diet, our company did not want us to give fruit for breakfast. So she was trying to put the blame, and it was a day that I did not feel like apologizing. Because typically I just say, yeah, I'll go speak to, the host about it. But I knew this host, and I knew that this host was quite particular. So I called the host and I was asking the host, like, hey, what did this patient get for breakfast? And the host mentioned that the patient got XYZ. I was explaining to the host that, the nurse was saying that there was fruit on the tray. And the host was like, no, there was no fruit on the tray unless they're talking about the garnish. So because I was not in the mood to be having it, I then went to the nurse and said, oh, this patient received this, and this. Are you referring to the garnish? And she was like, yeah, that was a fruit. So I said, oh, so what you're trying to say is you don't want the patient tray to be garnished? You want our patient satisfaction scores to be low? You want the patient to have a bad experience in the hospital? Is that what you're telling me? And then I realized that the nurse broke eye contact with me. I was like, no, that's not what I mean at all. Now, I don't tell you this story to make fun of the nurse. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying by telling you this story is when it comes to doctors and nurses, I want you to realize that they do not have a nutrition degree unless they specifically go into that field and dedicate their lives to that research. But I want you to stop getting your food and nutrition information from other health professionals. When you go to the dentist, you don't have your mechanic work on your teeth, right? When you go to the mechanic, you don't have your doctor working on the engine or the brakes of your car, right? So why are you going to other people for your food and nutrition related advice? Talk to me.